Okay, here today we'll start with the topic errors. Significant figures we have completed. Okay, now errors means the difference between the true value and the measured value. The difference between the true value and the measured value, it is called as an error. Okay, so error means the difference between the true value and the measured value. This difference, it is called as the error. Now there are some types of errors. Okay, which is given on page number 23. Okay, in your NCERT book. The first one, see, take out page number 23. So here it is given that in general, the errors in a measurement can be broadly classified as systematic errors and random errors. So the errors can be classified in systematic errors and random errors. So here it is given in bold letters in blue. It is given in bold. So I'll explain from here and you can note down from the book or you can learn it from the book. Systematic errors are those errors which tend to be in one direction. Either they are positive or negative. Some of the sources of the systematic errors are given. Okay, so systematic errors means the errors which are either positive or negative. That is, some systematic way is there. That is, the cause of this error is known and it can be minimized. Why? Because its cause is known. So, by reducing the cause, we can minimize this error. So, these are either positive or negative. Okay, either they may be positive or negative. Such type of errors, we call it as systematic errors. Okay, some of the sources of systematic errors are given over here. The first one is instrumental errors. These errors arise due to the imperfect design or calibration of the measuring instrument. Okay, due to the imperfect design. Instrumental means this is in the instrument only. So due to some manufacturing defect or due to the imperfection design of the apparatus, some error is in the instrument. And if we are using that instrument, then always some error will be there. Such an error we call it as the instrumental error. So this is due to the manufacturing defect or due to the imperfect design of the apparatus. For example, if you are using a meter scale, now instead of, as we know that in 1 centimeter there are 10 millimeters. Now there is some defect in the instrument and instead of 10 millimeters there are only 9 fine lines. That is, it is 1 centimeter is equivalent to 9 millimeters only. Then if you are using such a scale, then always some error will come. Use that scale to measure any length of the table, length of the scale, length of the board, anything. So using such a scale which is due to the manufacturing defect, some error will always arise. Such an error we call it as the instrumental error, or it is the zero error of the vernier calipers. Okay, now when you come to the school, when you will do the practicals, there is one experiment of vernier calipers in which there are two scales. One scale is the regular scale, which you use the regular scale, in which the least count is 1 millimeter. And there is one small scale. Okay, this is the regular scale, like 0 is here, 1 is here. There are 10 fine lines. And there is one small scale which can slide on the main scale. This scale we call it as the main scale. And the scale which can slide on the main scale, that we call it as the vernier scale. And this vernier scale is having 10 divisions. Starting from 0, how many divisions are there? 10 divisions are there. Okay, now the 0 of the main scale and the 0 of the vernier scale should coincide with each other. It means the instrument is perfect. But due to some manufacturing defect, the 0 of the main scale or the zero of the vernier scale does not coincide with the zero of the main scale, then this instrument will possess some error. The instrument will have some error. Such an error we call it as the zero error. So this error we call it as the zero error. When the zero of the main scale is not coinciding with the zero of the vernier scale, then the instrument is not perfect. Then there is some manufacturing defect in the instrument. So such an error we call it as the zero error. Okay, so when you come to the lab, okay, you will be taught how to reduce this zero error, how to remove this zero error, how can it be corrected. So all these things will be shown over here. So due to some manufacturing defect, there may be some error in the instrument. Such an error we call it as the instrumental error, and the example of instrumental error is zero error of the vernier calipers. So the zero of the main scale and the zero of the vernier scale are not coinciding. Then the error is called as the zero error. Okay, the second type of systematic error. Here it is given is imperfection in the experimental technique or procedure. Okay, the example given over here is to determine the temperature of a human body. A thermometer is placed under the armpit, which will always give a temperature lower than the actual body temperature. Okay, so imperfection in the experimental technique. The technique is not proper. We know that to measure the human body temperature, a clinical thermometer is used, which is placed under the tongue. Okay, then it will give the actual body temperature. Okay, but suppose if the technique is not perfect, the technique is improper, the technique is not perfect, that is the person doesn't know where to keep this thermometer, he has kept under the armpit, then the body temperature given by that thermometer will not be the actual body temperature, it will be lower than the actual body temperature. So if the technique is not proper, if the technique is not perfect, then also some error may arise, and such an error we call it as imperfection in the experimental technique. Okay, then the third one is personal error. Okay, personal error means the person who is doing the experiment, the person who is taking the readings, the person who is observing the readings, due to his carelessness, some error may arise, which is called as the personal error. Okay, so this is due to the carelessness of the observer who is taking the readings. Such an error we call it as the personal error. For example, if you have to take the reading by any scale coinciding with the line, you have to take that reading. So you have to keep your eye just in front of the scale and then take the readings. If you are keeping your eye towards the right or towards the left and then taking the readings, the reading will not be perfect. Okay, so the person who is doing the experiment, due to his carelessness, some error may arise, which is called as the personal error. Okay, another example is like when you come to the lab, you will be told to read the precautions and then start the experiment. Why? Because these precautions you have to keep it in mind and then take the readings. Without reading the precautions, if you start taking the readings, some error may obviously arise. Okay, so such an error which is due to the carelessness of the observer, that is called as the personal error. Okay, then there is one more type here which is given in the B part only. Due to the change in physical conditions. Okay, when the physical conditions change, then also some error may arise. For example, if you are using a metallic scale, we know that in summers the metallic scale will expand, whereas in winters it will contract. So if you are using a metallic scale in summers to measure the length of anything, measure the length of a table or a scale, so some error will arise. Why? Because the metallic scale has expanded. So due to some external conditions, due to some change in external conditions, like the change in temperature, pressure, etc., some error may arise, and such an error we call it as this is the error due to the change in external conditions. So these are the different sources of systematic errors. So systematic errors are the errors which are either positive or negative and their cause is known. So these errors can be minimized. Such errors we call it as the systematic errors. Some sources of systematic errors here we have studied. The first one, instrumental error. If due to some manufacturing defect there is an error in the instrument, we call it as the instrumental error. The second one is imperfection in the experimental technique. The technique is not proper. The person who is taking the readings doesn't know the technique. So due to the imperfection in experimental technique, some error may arise. Personal error, which is due to the carelessness of the observer. Then the errors due to the change in external conditions. Okay, like if the temperature, pressure, etc. change, then some error may arise. So these are the systematic errors. Now the second type of errors are random errors. The random errors are those errors which occur irregularly and hence are random with respect to the sign and the size. Okay, so randomly they may occur, irregularly they may occur, the cause of which is not known only. For example, you are measuring the length of a table. You measure it 6 times and every time you are getting some different reading. So you don't know the cause, how it has happened. So such an error we call it as the random error. By chance it occurs. So that is why they are also called as the chance errors. So random errors means which occur irregularly. We don't even know whether they are positive or negative. Okay, they may be positive, they may be negative. Like systematic errors, the cause is known and hence it can be minimized. But random errors, they occur by chance. So such type of irregular errors, we call it as random errors. Okay, one more error is there, least count error. It's given in the book, least count error. So the errors associated with the least count, the errors associated with the least count are called as the least count errors. Now what is least count? The smallest measurement made by any instrument. The smallest measurement which an instrument can make, that we call it as its least count. Like the least count of the regular scale, the scale which you use is 1 millimeter. That is how much one division is measuring. So that is 1 millimeter. Like for the vernier calipers, it is 0.01 millimeters. For screw gauge, it will be 0.001 centimeter. So these errors which are associated with the least count. Okay, only understand this much. The errors which are associated with the least count, they are called as the least count errors. And what is the least count? The smallest measurement made by any instrument. That we call it as the least count. So here we have studied about systematic errors, then random errors, and then the least count errors. Systematic errors, which can either be positive or negative, as their cause is known, they can be minimized. Some sources of systematic errors we have studied. The first one, instrumental error. The second one, imperfection in the experimental technique. The third one, personal error. And the fourth one is the errors due to the external change in the physical conditions. Okay, then random errors, the second type of errors, random errors, which may occur irregularly, any by chance they may occur. Okay, we don't know its cause, they are called as the random errors. And then the least count errors, which are associated with the least count. Okay, now when the error is calculated, then we calculate 3 types of errors. The first one is absolute error. Okay, when the errors calculated, then we get 3 types of errors. The first one, absolute error. The second one is relative error. And the third one is percentage error. The third one is percentage error. Okay, now let's start with the absolute error. Okay, absolute error. It is the magnitude of the difference between the true value and the measured value. Okay, now how to get the true value? For example, if I have to measure the length of this board, green board. The true value of the length is not given anywhere. I don't know the true value. So how to find out the true value? We'll take a number of readings and then we'll find its mean. We'll find its average. This average or the mean will be considered as the true value. Let for any observation, a number of readings are taken, A1, A2, n number of observations are taken, A1, A2, A3, A4 and so on, An. Now we'll find out its mean. I think everyone knows how to find out the arithmetic mean. A1 plus A2, adding all the values and dividing it by the number of observations. Let n number of observations are taken. So what is the mean? The mean is A1 plus A2 plus An divided. Now this mean value will be considered as the true value. Why? Because as I said, if I have to measure the length of this board, green board, the true length, the accurate length, the actual length is not given. So how to find out that actual length? Take a number of observations, A1, A2, An, and divide it by n. This you will get the mean value, which will be considered as the true value. Okay, now we'll find out the absolute error in each measurement. Now this is the true value, this is the first measured value. So what will be the absolute error in the first measurement? This we write it as delta A1. This triangle is the symbol for delta. Delta A1 is the absolute error in the first measurement. Okay, in the first observed value, which is equal to A mean minus the first observed value, the true value minus the first observed value. You will get the absolute error in the first measurement. Similarly, the absolute error in the second measurement will be A mean minus A2 and so on. In the nth measurement, the absolute error will be equal to A mean minus An. Now we find out the mean of all these absolute errors. What will be the mean of all the absolute errors? The mean of all the absolute errors will be the absolute error in the first measurement plus the absolute error in the second measurement and so on, plus the absolute error in the nth measurement divided by n. This is the mean absolute error. Delta A1 plus delta A2 plus delta An divided by n. This we call it as the mean absolute error. So this way we find out the absolute error. Okay, now this here delta A1, delta A2, delta An. These will be always positive. We'll find the modulus of it. Modulus means this will be always positive. Suppose the true value is greater than A1, you will find out A mean minus A1. If A1 is greater than A mean, then you will find out A1 minus A mean. So all these delta A1, delta A2, delta An will be positive. All these absolute errors will be positive. So it is the magnitude of the difference between the true value and the measured value. So once again, I repeat how to find out the absolute error. We take a number of observations, A1, A2, An. We find its mean, which is given by this, and this mean will be taken as the true value. Now we can find out the absolute error in the first measurement, which will be the difference between the true value and the first measured value. The same way, absolute error in the second measurement, difference between the true value and the second measured value. So we get the absolute errors. Then the mean absolute error is calculated by finding out all these are magnitudes only. Modulus of delta A1 plus modulus of delta, all these will be positive only. Add all these absolute errors and divide it by n. This way we get the absolute error. Now the next is relative error. Relative error, which is also called as the fractional error. Relative error, which is also called as the fractional error. It is the ratio of mean absolute error to the mean value, to the true value, to the actual value, ratio of the mean absolute error to the mean value. This is the mean absolute error and this one is the mean value. The ratio of the mean absolute error to the mean value, we call it as relative error or it is called as the fractional error. Okay, this is also represented by a symbol which is called as delta. Here also this is called as delta A. So for relative error, we represented by this symbol. This is also called as delta A, which is equal to delta A mean upon the A mean value. Now percentage error. Percentage error is this relative error expressed in percentage. The relative error expressed in percentage, and how do we express it in percentage? Multiplying it by 100. So if we have to find out the percentage error in delta A, what we'll do? Delta A mean upon A mean multiplied by 100. This you will get it in percentage. So expressing the relative error in percentage, we get the percentage error. So when the errors are calculated, we find three types of errors: absolute error, relative error and the percentage error. Absolute error is in each measurement, we'll find out the absolute error. First, we'll take a number of observations, we'll find its mean value, then we'll find out the absolute error in each measurement. Okay, this is the absolute error in each measurement. Then we'll find out the mean of all these absolute errors. And these absolute errors will have to be, they are taken as positive only. That is, we take the modulus of it. So here we get the mean absolute error. This mean absolute error divided by the mean value, we get the relative error. This relative error multiplied by 100, we get the percentage error. So when we calculate these three types of errors. Okay, now the next is combination of errors. So here we'll study combination means addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. So combination of errors. For addition and subtraction, it is the same, and for multiplication and division, it's the same. So let's find out for addition in errors. Combination of errors. Okay, errors in the sum, or you may write down addition in errors. Okay, now any measured value, before starting it, I'm telling you any measured value. How is it written? Its mean value plus minus its absolute error. Okay, this is the absolute error. For example, A is the measured value. When you measure that value, there will be some absolute error in that. So what will be the value of A? A plus delta A to A minus delta A. So any measured value is always written as A plus minus delta A, where A is its actual value. When we measure it, then some absolute error, obviously it will arise. So how we write the measured value? A plus minus delta A, where delta A is the absolute error. So it can be from A plus delta A to A minus delta A. So that is why we write it as A plus minus delta A. Okay, now let's proceed with the addition. There are two true values A and B. When they are added, their sum is Z. So Z is equal to A plus B. A and B are the true values, and when we add it, let their sum is Z. Okay, so Z is the sum of A and B, which are the true values. When A is measured, how can the measured value of A can be written? A plus minus delta A. Why? Because there will be some absolute error in A. So how the measured value of A can be written? A plus minus delta A. Now the measured value of A, when added to the measured value of B, what is the measured value of B? B plus minus delta B. then the sum will also have some absolute error. Why? Because we are measuring the measured values which are having some absolute error. So the sum also has some absolute error, which is plus minus delta z. So the sum can be written as, when the measured values are added, then the sum can be written as z plus minus delta z. Okay, let's write down how it can be written. The right hand side, it can be written as a plus b plus minus delta a plus minus delta b. Okay, so it can be written as a plus b plus minus delta a plus b. Okay, now the true value sum a plus b is equal to z. So you can cancel out z and a plus b, as we know that z is equal to a plus b. So what remains? Plus minus delta z is equal to plus minus delta a plus minus delta b. Now here we'll find out the maximum absolute error. How much maximum error could be done? So the maximum absolute error in the sum will be equal to, we'll consider the positive sign for the maximum possible error. We'll consider the positive sign. This will be the maximum error. Plus delta z will be, again here also we'll consider the positive sign, plus delta a plus delta b. So the maximum error in the sum is equal to the sum of the absolute errors in individual measurements. So the maximum absolute error in the sum is sum of the absolute errors in individual measurements. So Z is the sum of true values A and B. When the measured values are added, then there will be some error in the sum also, which is the delta Z, absolute error in the sum. This is the measured value of the sum, as Z is equal to A plus B. Cancel out from both the sides. Now the maximum absolute error we are finding out. Maximum is, you will consider the positive sign, will be equal to plus delta A plus delta B. Let's do for the subtraction also. Then multiplication and division, we'll do it tomorrow. The second is subtraction in errors. Okay, again, A and B are the true values and B is subtracted from A and the difference is Z. So Z is equal to A minus B. Okay, when the measured values are subtracted, the measured value of A is A plus minus delta A minus the measured value of B, B plus minus delta B. Okay, so then the difference will also have some absolute error, which is plus minus delta Z. So how can the difference be written now? Z plus minus delta Z. Why? Because we are measuring the measured values. So there will be some error in the difference, which is plus minus delta Z. Okay, now this can be written as Z is equal to A minus B plus minus delta A minus into plus minus plus delta B, which is again plus minus delta B. Okay, so as Z is equal to A minus B, you can cancel out from both the sides. Now again the maximum absolute error in the difference. Which sign will consider? Positive sign, plus delta Z, and here also we'll consider the positive sign, plus delta A plus delta B. So in addition and subtraction, the maximum absolute error is calculated in the sum or in the difference, which is equal to sum of the absolute errors in individual measurements. Okay,